Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. We're just going to wait a couple more minutes while more people join the session.
السلام عليكم بيان.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله. أهلين. شكرا لكم لحضوركم. Okay, I guess we can go ahead and start. And then, inshallah, more people will be joining in as we go along. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm Bayan Khalid, and I'll be your moderator for today. Thank you so much for attending yet another day of the Ramadan Summit. We've had over 20 talks so far, and we're coming so close to the end. Today, we have two special speakers, Mariam Mohammad and our very own Alina Zaman. But first, let me remind you that the Ramadan Summit is the concluding part of the Design Post-COVID Humanity Program, so you may listen to people with inspiring stories and messages and take any valuable lessons with you for the rest of your life. Ramadan is a month of peace and blessings, and inshallah, we hope to add a touch of inspiration to that this year as well. So, if you've been keeping up with our talks, thank you so much. We hope you've been finding them useful, and welcome if you are new. As usual, each person will give a talk and we'll have a Q&A session after each talk. Please feel free to type in your questions in the chat as we go along or use the raise your hand feature so we can call on you to speak. Without further ado, let me introduce our first speaker for today, Mariam Mohammad. She is a 21-year-old Palestinian refugee in Lebanon who's currently a senior undergraduate medical laboratory sciences student studying in Lebanon. She's the founder of Elam Mahai, an initiative to erase illiteracy among street children in Lebanon and introduce volunteerism among youth. Moreover, she's also the founder of Tamkeen, which aims to enhance the quality of educational services for Palestinian refugees in Lebanon. Her determination to help her community is clearly from all the work she did with the 7 NGOs she works with within Lebanon, such as Food Blessed, Loyac, and internationally as well. Mariam has worked with the World Health Organization to draft a resolution, not revolution, sorry about that, concerning mental health services in Lebanon, which were sent to the Ministry of Health in Lebanon as part of the National Mental Health Program. And with Halt Prize Foundation, the world's largest competition to solve the world's toughest social challenges, she was the youngest director for 2 university campuses and an intern later on. Now, Mariam is a YLP advisory board member for UNDP YLP Youth Leadership Program, international motivational speaker at different organizations, both globally and locally, and a mentor in several programs in Lebanon and outside Lebanon. Mariam has been selected for several local and international programs around the world. Notable is the Harvard University Crossroad Emerging Leaders Program 2020 and MEPI Student Leaders in the United States. Her topic for today is about hope. So Mariam, please talk to us about hope. Mariam, are you with us?
Yeah, sorry, the Wi-Fi disconnected for a moment.
No worries. I understand in Lebanon with the Wi-Fi situation. We've been having it with a lot of our colleagues in Lebanon as well. So please go ahead. The floor is yours. You're muted again.
All right, perfect. The first time we met, it was not the first tale I was expecting for. Their hateness hit me like a tornado. And I thought, why is that? The second time we met, as I was riding through the board, I could hear the chair being lifted off the ground, flying in the air, and almost hitting me in the back. The third time we met, they sat there, frowning and glaring at me. But in between those glares, I could see surprise and astonishment, and I could feel that tornado settling down a little bit. Time flew by, and with it, the hateness and the aggressiveness also flew away too. Instead, they were vulnerable. They were tired, afraid, and most importantly, they were ununderstood. They only wanted one simple thing that we often underestimate. We think it doesn't matter, but for us and for them, it should matter the most. All what they wanted is hope. People used to think by giving them money or giving them pity, all of their problems will magically disappear. But it was not the case. They wanted someone there for them, to support them. I used to think what they needed is food, education, and a place to play in. But that was not the case. They wanted someone to give them true hope. And all of their aggressiveness and hateness came from one thing. People often used to come in, gave them false hope, then rip it away. And this damaged them even more. Instead, when I had the opportunity to show them through hope, they were able to believe in themselves. They can do better, they can be better, and they can fight their rights. And since then, they tried to go back to school and stop being street children. That moment, I realized how powerful hope is. I never thought the power it possessed. I thought, okay, we use it way too often. I hope you're doing well. I hope I'll do well in my exam. I hope that person will get better soon. We use it way too often. We stop actually realizing how powerful it is and how it can help so many people. Hope is a powerful tool to make someone believe for a better tomorrow. Hope for those children made them stop seeing themselves as outliers in the society, but as a part of it. They finally were able to reconnect with their childhood and stop living as criminal. Hope turned black into white, turned fear into courage, and turned their hate into love. And since that realization, I stopped actually seeing hope the way I used to see it. And I started to notice how much it affected my life and how much impact it made. My brother, when I was little, always used to give me hope to keep fighting. And because of that, I never gave up. My friends, who are here today, by the way, always believed in myself and gave me hope that I can do it. Even though sometimes I had no hope that I can do it. Even the looks I used to get from strangers when I talk about my ambition, when I talk about my goals or my plans, all of these actions used to give me so much hope and push me forward. That's why hope gave me power that I needed. And hope is not only words. Hope can be a person, can be a talk, can be a project, can even be a look. Hope is anything that gives you power to rise back up once you fall down. And upon that realization, I stopped underestimating the impact that I'm doing because I used to help so many people. And I think, all right, I helped them for a day. This is nice. I was able to do some impact. But that was it. And even sometimes I didn't think they make impacts at all because they were tiny action. But then when I thought again, that time when I had a 5-minute chat with a man, I gave them hope for tomorrow, and he didn't suicide. That time I played a game with a kid, I gave them hope tomorrow will be better. That family I was able to provide with some food had hope that there always will be someone looking out for them and giving them food to eat. The power hope had on those people, I never thought about it. And since that moment, I knew no matter how tiny the action that I'm doing, it may only took me 5 minutes or it may take me an hour, but these moments I spent giving someone hope made their life so much better because hope gave them power to rise back from the hole they were in. Now, I want all of you to close your eyes and think. Think about those tiny actions you never thought it helped someone or made a huge impact in their life. Think about those actions at the lens of hope, the lens of power. That moment, you were that power for them. You were the power that pushed them forward to not to give up, to keep fighting, to keep pushing. You were the power that they needed. You were the light that they wanted. So be hope. Be hope to your family, be hope to your friends, be hope to your community, and be hope to this world. Just be hope and spread it around. Thank you.
Mashallah, Mariam, that was such an inspirational talk, all about hope. And they do say in Arabic, "Tafa'alu bil khair tajiduh." I think it's more of an Islamic saying, actually. so, so that was really wonderful, and I think everybody should have hope, definitely. So I guess I'll start off the questions. First of all, you're getting a lot of nice comments from everyone saying, I'm proud, bravo, amazing. You make me feel like I'm flying. I'm hopeful. You're the real hope. You're amazing. So mashallah, you definitely have a great support system. So that should be enough to give anyone hope, I think. Okay, so while we're waiting for the questions to roll in, I guess I can begin with my own question. So, what advice would you give someone who is at their lowest, like they've hit rock bottom, and it's easier to tell people have some hope than it is to actually have them believe it. So what advice would you give someone like that, or what would you tell someone like that?
Mhm. So my first advice to be is actually to rest, because everyone will hit this point in their life, will be in the rock bottom, and it's totally fine to stay down there and rest, because we need resting. And I didn't used to realize this, but like resting is a very important process to actually be able to get back up. So it's fine to feel sad, to feel depressed, and to feel frustrated, and it's time for you just to relax, to try to empty your mind and try to think kind of in a positive way. Just don't do any work, go out with your friends, draw, run, whatever makes you happy. And after you feel a little bit better, start to think more in a positive way. Think about the small actions that you did. For me, when I feel down, I start to think about how I helped so many people, how much impact I was able to make. So it may be I helped my friend with the math problem to solve in an homework. It may be something so lightly like giving out a sandwich for someone on the street. It can mean a lot. And when you really think about it, think about the smile that you get from that person, think about the look that they gave you. It gave me a little bit of happiness, and little by little I get out of this depression. And always seek help from your friends and from your loved ones, because they know you the most and they can support you. But I think the most important thing is actually to rest and give yourself a break.
Absolutely, I agree. Like sleep, for like specifically I'm talking about sleep, is extremely important, and I think a lot of people underestimate the power of sleep. And actually yesterday I gave a talk for the Ramadan summer as well, and I talked about the importance of sleep in it for like education systems to teach the importance of sleep to their youth, so that they can you know be okay with taking a break every once in a while, and not feeling guilty about it, and not being like always on a roll in order to feel productive. Sleep and
Mhm.
rest are part of being productive.
Yeah,
um
that's very true. We take it as a badge when we overwork ourselves. Nowadays, they portray it as like you're so successful if you overwork yourself, which is not true. I used to be kind of like that person, but like as you mature more, you need to know the importance of balance between working, between having fun, and between having a social life, which is very important.
Absolutely. Okay, so we have a couple more questions here. First, we'll take Hira's question. What are the main challenges in the program of illiteracy in Lebanon?
Mhm. All right, so if you're talking about my initiative, the one we try to raise illiteracy amongst your children, the main challenge is actually dealing with them. My introduction was actually the progress we had. The first time we went there, they were so angry, they didn't want to learn anything. The second time, they started throwing chairs at us, and like we were just running away from them. And after that, they thought they were going to stop because they were very violent with us. But the thing is, you need to build a trust with them, because they have trust with no one, because they come from a very vulnerable background. They are very abused by their parents or by the mafias or even by the community itself. So I think the most important thing and the hardest thing is to build the trust with them, because we need at least a month to be able actually to build that trust between us both. And that was the most crucial step for us to build that trust. And after that, it was actually just like separating them into groups, because they may be, let's say, 10 years old, but he doesn't know how to read anything. And you have children who actually know some basics. So it was actually hard for them to adapt with different age groups. And we tried to monitor this and seek out for help on how can we deal with it. And yeah, it takes a lot of time, but it's worth it by the end.
That's really great. I'm glad you could find a way to overcome that challenge. Yeah, okay, so our next question is from Vinod, and then we'll take Takang, and then we'll take Khadija. So, Vinod, what hope message would you give to all the people who are, um, I think he means to say, like, tackling the present COVID pandemic, or like coping with the present COVID pandemic?
Mm-hmm. Actually, while I was reading my speech yesterday, I wanted to include something about COVID because I think a big part of us now defeating COVID and in some way is actually having hope. Because if we think about it, let's think about it, go back. If we didn't put our mask on and our gloves and sanitize, we didn't use it just for the sake for us to getting protection because we hoped we won't get the virus if we did those actions. So when I thought about it, in this situation, as long as we have hope that we're going to find a treatment, which currently is the vaccine, and it will work, I think it gave us this power to actually keep moving forward in our life, because by the start of the pandemic, most of us were depressed. We had no idea what to do in our life. We were just stuck because we almost didn't have hope that anything will happen. There were so many people dying. There was no treatment. We didn't know any information about the virus. But currently, nowadays, in most of the countries, life is almost back to normal because now people have a huge amount of hope, which gave them the power to move forward in their life. So just think about the beginning of the pandemic and now the phase that we are in. Now we are currently to go out with our friends. We are currently going to universities. We are going around and it's kind of normal, which is a great progress from 2019 at least. So it only will get better by time. So what I think about 2019 was horrible, but little by little it started to get better. And hopefully now by the end of 2021, we'll be back to completely going back to normal. So just think about the progress so far that we've been going through.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always say, like, the best advice I can give anyone is to just take things one day at a time, because this is a problem that I struggle with, that I'm always like freaking out because I'm thinking about way long term and I'm
That
not
makes
taking
sense.
things one day at a time. Okay, so next we're gonna unmute Takang so he can ask his question.
Sure.
Hi, Mariam.
Hello.
Nice having you. You spoke with a lot of hope, and definitely I'm hopeful. It was a timely talk. You spoke in the midst of a lot of young people, and it's another sermon for Tuesday. That's great. I want to find out from you, the concept about hope seems to be a virtue alongside patience, kindness, and humility. Not everyone possesses these. So, what can someone do who is not virtuous enough to have the aspect of hope do to inculcate this very sensitive principle? She's back.
I think oh, okay, you're back. Are you back? Did you catch the question?
Yeah, I didn't catch the question. Only the question. The connection was good.
I'm sorry about that. So I was asking, the concept of hope alongside patience, kindness, humility
Mhm.
are virtues. It's not bought and sold in the market, right? And not a
Mhm.
lot of people might have some of these virtues of life. So what should be done to probably inculcate the value or the virtues of hope by someone? Because from your experience, it's like a virtue which Allah has given you. You kind of grew up with it, you mastered it, you had to encourage others. So if you meet someone who is hopeless, what definitely can you inspire the person to probably do who doesn't have that virtue in him or her?
Mhm.
So that's my
All right.
question.
All right, it's a great question, actually. So, answering your question, it's also something similar, something I experienced. I used to think that action that I did really made an impact. But when we think about it, if each one of us will make this tiny impact, this drop of water, and drop of water above one, we're gonna have ocean. And same thing goes for impact. When we have a problem that a lot of people are addressing at the same time, even though if each one of us is doing something so small, but as this work add together, we're gonna create a difference. So the hope in that is actually to focus on what you do and the outcome of it, because I didn't really think about the outcome. I was like, okay, it's normal. All right, they're happy. This is cool. But it's not the case. The amount of happiness, the amount of hope, the amount of motivation you gave for that person that day really truly made a difference in their life. And think about people like you currently in, I don't know, in Qatar, in Egypt, in Jordan, in any country in the world doing the same thing and making someone happy. And this little by little will be able to change our reality from the dark reality that we live in to actually something we want to live in. It's similar for the SDGs. The SDGs, one organization cannot implement them on their own. That's why each country should try to implement the SDGs. And same thing goes for impact. Once we all of us aim to do impact in any way, it can be by social business. It doesn't have to be by volunteering or by social work. You can do social business. Being a medical student, being a teacher, teachers are the world's leader for me because they actually teach us this kind of stuff that we need to teach. So to turn the darkness that we live in, we need to believe that all the things that we do is actually making something, and just think about the accumulated effort that all of us are doing globally, not only us.
Thank you so much for answering that question. And now we'll move on to our next question by Khadija. What do you say to someone who spreads hope among others and can't give it to themselves, can't get themselves out of the darkness? It's a good question.
It's a very good question. It's something actually people who spread a lot of hope often suffer from, because for people, they are that person who's always positive, who's always motivated. So people just don't understand how they can be not motivated and hoping always for the best. So for these kind of people, I'm gonna tell you what I try to do when I reach that kind of point. I just try to think about my goals. So let's say I have a goal to get a master's in, let's say, public health. And I think about it. If I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna do nothing, I'm not gonna reach it anyway. So I'm gonna become more depressed and more sad. So I just try to imagine my goals, and when I achieve them, how good it will feel. Because when I help people and give them hope to achieve theirs, I feel happy because they achieved them. And I try to reflect back this feeling on me and put myself in their shoes to experience their happiness. So this, the imagination that I have actually push me to try to give myself some hope and motivation, but sometimes I'm unable to do so, and that's when my friends comes into place, and they believe in me and they keep pushing me until I get out of this darkness. So I think addressing a group of people or maybe an act that can give you hope, you should try to find that out, because I think it's the main source for you to keep motivating when you can't do that by yourself.
Absolutely. Very wise words, Mariam. Thank you for that. Okay, we're going to take our last question or comment for today before we move on to our next speaker, Alina Zaman. So, Mohammad Kibbe, that's a nice last name, Mohammad. Sometimes when we have too many rejections, we lose hope. How can one build hopeful mechanisms to survive such situations?
Okay. Let me think about that one. All right, hopeful mechanisms. One of the hopeful mechanisms that I do, I have this tiny notebook where I put all the things I achieved or things I'm proud of. It may be something so stupid like me getting over COVID, because I had COVID, then I survived COVID. Then I'm like, I defeated COVID. So you can have this tiny notebook that you can put small things that you did or huge things that you did that make you feel like I did something, I achieved something. And whenever I feel down, I just open it and I read it and I give myself hope. And I remember, no matter how bad my life was or how challenging or frustrating or destructive my life was for me at some point, I was able to get through it and I was able to survive. And when I look back at those and then I reflect back to my reality, I'm like, I can do it. I can do this again. I may rest for a little while and be depressed or just eat so much junk food, but it's fine. I'm gonna get back out there. So I think this is one of the mechanisms that I use. Or sometimes, because I've found that helping others make me truly happy, honestly, it gives me genuine happiness that I never experienced. So I volunteer when I feel down, and it gave me hope that I can help people. So those are the two mechanisms that I can think of right now. But I highly recommend actually getting something, maybe on your laptop even. Just write stuff that you are proud of. It may be like you make your mom happy every single day. You may go out with your best friend every day and you have so many good memories. It can be anything. So just do this in a small notebook.
That's a nice way of handling things. I'll definitely give that a try. I don't know about everyone else. Okay, so we did get one more question, so we'll take this, but this is the last question. In any given situation, for example, to the point of facing death in Corona, can hope still survive?
Hope in that case, I think, would stop for a while, like especially if that person is close to you and they died, because it's something hard to progress and it's something hard to deal with. And we go back to the point, it's fine to rest and like be sad and just getting it out of your system. By the end of the day, we know that everyone will die. Unfortunately, that's a fact. And it's something that we have to accept. It's hard to accept and it's hard to progress, but that's life. But on the other hand, think if someone died at the same time someone is being born, and someone is being born as a new hope, they may be the person who will discover a cure for, I don't know, let's say AIDS or for cancer, or it will be maybe someone that will end corruption in this world. So every single person who's born in a day, it may be the new hope for this world. So yes, someone is dying. I'm sure they did a lot of amazing things in their life. They were hope to so many people, but at the same time, someone is being born, and we hope for the better that they will gonna make a change in this life.
Absolutely. Well, mashallah, we've never had this many participants in Ramadan Summit Talk before. So I'm glad everyone is here to join us to attend this. And mashallah, I mean, you can tell that you have a really amazing support system. So I hope that that stays with you for the rest of your life as well. And thank you so much for answering all of the questions and giving your talk about hope and giving us hope for the future as well. We hope to have you back another day.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So now we're going to have Alina, our next speaker, who is incredibly active with us in Maker Majlis as a whole and in the Ramadan Summit specifically. She has been my co-moderator. So sometimes it's me, sometimes it's her. Thank you, Nadine, for your comment. And I'm really excited to introduce Alina because yesterday she introduced me, and it was really a wonderful introduction. And I have no doubt that Alina will inspire us today. She has one of the kindest, sweetest souls and hearts that I've ever come across in my life. Really one of the sweetest people I've ever met. So allow me to introduce her. She works as a research assistant at the College of Islamic Studies at Hamad bin Khalifa University. She has a background in the fields of teaching, research, and administration. Alina graduated with a Master of Arts in Islam and Global Affairs from the College of Islamic Studies, also at Hamad bin Khalifa University. So she works where she studied. She holds a Bachelor of Arts in English Linguistics and a minor in philosophy from the College of Arts and Science at Qatar University. Aside from academics, Alina is a social work enthusiast who consistently volunteers for Qatar Charity and Qatar Cancer Society by coordinating fundraising activities in support of these organizations. Alina also volunteers to lead storytelling sessions and photo shoots for young children. She received the Student Leadership Award and the Student Engagement Award during her time at HBKU, as well as the honor of being the student speaker for the CIS HBKU class of 2020. Alina is currently working on the launch of her social enterprise called Qatra, which is the outcome of her integrative lab research project from her Master's of Islam and Global Affairs program at HBKU. Her topic for today is the value of empathy. Please, Alina, inspire us.
Thank you, Bayan, for your kind words. I really do appreciate it. Okay. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi zidni ilma, Rabbi zidni ilma, Rabbi zidni ilma. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Haven't we all heard someone say in our lives, at least once, that I just want to be understood, or nobody understands me? I'm sure you all can relate to this because in one way or another, as human beings, we all have this desire to be understood by others. Now, hold on to this thought and I'll come back to it at the end of my talk. The scholastic definition of empathy, it's a noun, and it means to have the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. The first question that pops in my mind is, how do I explain empathy with this definition? So I'm going to try attempting to shed light on the value of empathy based on my life experiences. Back in the day, when I was in high school, I was bullied for 9 consecutive years. Yeah, it's not a big deal. But that bullying experience shaped my personality, and it formed a misconception about the term empathy. Every time I was bullied, my teachers would assign me a bodyguard that from now on, this person will take care of you. And that was it. That was the solution. And this went on until I took action and just complained that I don't need a bodyguard. I want the school to introduce a subject that will teach students about moral values and ethics, so another Alina wouldn't think of dropping out of school because of the way she is treated. This bodyguard will protect Alina, sometimes 1, 2, or even 3. That's not the kind of protection that I needed. I just wanted someone to understand me at that time, and for someone to validate my emotions of fear, anger, shame, and sadness. But instead, I was treated like a victim. I was given sympathy. And with this, I always felt the need to have someone around me because I wasn't strong enough to stand up for myself. I was treated like a victim, and I was sympathized because people felt sorry for me and didn't actually understand what I was going through. So that's when I first wore the armor of being a victim. My mind needed language of empathy, but others were communicating with me in the language of sympathy. And this is where it all started. What happens when you force feed a child? The child will put it out. The child will reject the food. He will ultimately expel the food. Similarly, we reject sympathy, and in reality, when we are in need of empathy. Moving on to the next chapter of college life, I was someone who was loved by everyone around me, and I was given a lot of attention, even more than I ever expected. And in receiving this love, I started questioning as to whether these people actually love me or are they just sympathizing with me. At that time, I only understood the language of sympathy, and that's how my mind started processing. I played the victim card by telling my loved ones that it's okay for me to take up 95% of the conversation because I need to be understood as I wasn't given a chance X years ago. That's because in the back of my mind, I was fixated in my past. I was treated like a victim, so I became a victim. Sympathy was ingrained in me, but this wasn't helping me grow. Here, I learned that it's so important for us to put ourselves in others' shoes. And it's not always about someone sharing their grief with us. Do we have to empathize? It could be just in a casual conversation about deadlines, because once we are done talking, we could give the others a chance to express their emotions, and we will show empathy by listening and by showing compassion through our body language, because everyone needs to be understood. It's just not about us. All you can do to be a true empath is to genuinely ask, how is the other person doing? How often do we really mean it? How prepared are we actually ready to listen to their story? You don't always have to jump in to fill the gap. You can show empathy by allowing the other person to think, and you don't always have to say something. Now, during this pandemic, every other day, we're hearing about people suffering and dying. Some we know of, and some we just see in the form of numbers on the news. But do we ever ponder over what the loved ones of these people might be going through? A couple of months ago, a very dear friend to me, went through a tragedy because of her father's demise due to COVID. Did I show empathy or sympathy? This is how it happened. I called her up and I passed my condolences. And then I stated that I understand what you are going through because XYZ people I know of passed away last year. And I know this is a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but just stay strong and it will take time for you to heal because it took me a couple of months to overcome and to accept the reality that this is how it is and we can't do anything about it. As soon as I made this statement, my friend responded with a strong sense of melancholy in her tone. Alina, you don't understand what I'm going through, and you never will, because you have your father with you, and you can meet him once you're awake. As for me, I can only see him in my dreams. And this shook me. How many of us are guilty of giving advice when not asked? When people approach us of the problem that they're in, our first tendency is to offer advice, but this is the complete opposite of what empathy requires. Empathy requires that person is in pain and is not in the position to accept solution-based replies. That person needs a caring ear. Just hearing these words, you are allowed to feel this way. It's okay. Everything will be fine. So how many of us are guilty of this? That we directly move to giving advices just because someone comes to you does not make you the solution master. It does not give you any superior position. We need to remain true to our humanity first. And that is what empathy requires. And if asked, only then we should offer our advice. What we see is the highlighted reel of what people have to show us. Little do we know what happens behind the scenes. When in conflict, it is essential that we use the power of empathy to resolve the conflict by acknowledging the emotions of the other, because you will show them that they are understood, that they matter. Empathy helps us actively think beyond ourselves and our concerns, and with this, it motivates us to treat others the way we would want to be treated. And who wouldn't want to be forgiven? The more willing we are to forgive ourselves and others, and the more we practice it, the more we'll be able to empathize authentically. If I even pull a common example, for instance, at the age of 30, someone who's not married, what is the first thought that comes to our mind? Is it, how come this person is not married? Why are they still not married? What are they doing with their life? Like, marriage is the only chapter in our lives. But we must stop ourselves from having this perception about people who still have the single tag on them. Do we need to intervene in the others' lives? And do we want these single people to conform to society's expectations? No one needs this extra baggage of tension, but if we were to use the power of empathy, we would be able to alleviate this tension and show compassion by actively seeking a solution, by either offering help, recommending marriage matrimonial platforms, or just simply by listening to them as to where they stand in their life and how they feel about marriage itself. How can I forget about our real superheroes who do what they possibly can to ensure that we are living a comfortable life at our homes? But what do we do when they're feeling sick? What is our first response? Do we assume that they're lying, or do we just worry about the work that is pending? Instead, just say, it's all right. I understand, and I hope everything gets better for you. Treat people how you would want to be treated. It doesn't get as simple as this. There is no point showing off in society with a badge of social work, volunteering for so many different organizations and posting it all over your social media. Real charity starts from your home. Start with your family members, and helpers are a crucial part of every family. That's if we see it this way. Since the day we were born, empathy was hardwired directly into our brains. But Are we using it by showing the right emotions in the appropriate context? Acknowledge your emotions, and when emotions slip off in the wrong settings, immediately switch it off because you have the power to do so. Now, going back to the trip that changed my life in the way I understood empathy. I visited Islamic Relief Pakistan for my integrative lab research project as part of my master's program in Islam and Global Affairs. And the research explored how Islamic Relief Pakistan was using their vocational training skills program to empower the widows. As I was interviewing a widow who was around 46 years old with 4 children, she shared with me that after 17 years of struggle by volunteering for different NGOs, she was finally given a job by Islamic Relief Pakistan as a group leader. As she was sharing her story of struggle, tears were flowing down her cheeks. And in response to this, I immediately started weeping too. And at that moment, all I said was, your children must be so proud of you, and you are a role model for women out there. And it's an honor for me to be taking your interview and in hearing this. She hugged me and made a wish that she wants her handmade products to be sold in the international market. I did not know how I was going to do this, but I empathized with her and I said that I will do my best to create a platform for you so you can fulfill your dream. With this, I gave her the power to stand proudly, and she hugged me so firmly that I can still feel her love today, which is driving me to launch this social enterprise. The reason why empathy is so important is that it helps us better understand how others are feeling and even feel it in ourselves. So empathy is not just about putting yourselves in others' shoes. It's also about empathizing with yourself, validating your emotions, understanding yourself, and do not expect anything from anyone. Understand people and choose to empathize with them for the sake of Allah. Don't do it as a favor. It's so important to embrace our emotions. The more willing we are to look at our emotions, acknowledge it, embrace it, own it, and take responsibility for it, the more we are to expand our capacity for empathy. By practicing gratitude, you'll be able to boost your power of empathy, and your mind will give you a red signal if someone were to speak to you in the language of sympathy. All you can say is, I will not have empathy for your sympathy. We all want to be understood, but let's take a moment to acknowledge that, especially during this time of COVID, everyone's going through something. So let's show mercy and empathy by putting ourselves in their shoes, changing our perspectives as to try to feel the distress that the other person might be going through. Islam stresses importance on the value of empathy, as in Ramadan, which is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. In Ramadan, we are given the chance to practice empathy by fasting. And firstly, to fast for the sake of God, and secondly, to feel how the vulnerable ones are going through, because they do not have the basic need, which is food. Just think about it. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had an amazing sense of empathy. Allah said about him, "There has certainly come to you a messenger from among yourselves. Grievous to him is what you suffer. He is concerned over you, and to the believers is kind and merciful." Another example that how Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam showed empathy is that he would shorten his congregational prayer when he would hear the wailing of a child, and just because a lengthy prayer would distress the mother. That's how important empathy is in the religion of Islam. So if we follow the footsteps of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we will strive to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before pleasing people, and empathy will be embedded in our way of living. We all have the capacity for empathy, but empathy is like a muscle. In order for it to be strong and efficient, we need to exercise empathy. Thank you.
MashaAllah, Alina, that was really amazing and just amazing. We already have a couple of fans in the comments here. Before I get to them, I just want to give a few comments. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. And, bullying is such a terrible, terrible thing. And I cannot believe that it's still happening. Yeah, I don't know, honestly. But anyway, so I think you're absolutely right about the invalidating feelings point that you mentioned there. I think a lot of people, you know, they try to make you feel better by saying something like, "Oh, it's not that big of a deal." But that's so invalidating. It doesn't. It just makes the person feel worse. It invalidates their feelings, and that's not the right approach. And I completely agree that sometimes the best thing you can do is just listen, just be quiet, just stay silent. Sometimes you might say, "Oh, I don't know what to say." And that's fine. It's better than saying the wrong thing. So yeah, so thank you for that. You're getting a lot of comments here. Amazing talk. Thank you. I love you. That was beautiful, wonderful, mashallah. I'm blown away. I feel like I want to hug you. Sulaiman said empathy, empower. The first three letters are the same. Use that as a clue. Subhanallah. Someone liked your quote there. I will not have empathy for your sympathy. Khadija finds this relatable. She hears these words every day. I think she wrote that down when you were talking about the whole marriage thing. There's so many comments. I can't keep up. Amazing. I've known Alina for the longest time, and I'm so proud of her because I've seen her grow into the wonderful woman she is. I'm so emotional right now. Proud of you. MashaAllah, MashaAllah, you deserve all this and more. And Dr. Basma said, Allah yahfadak wa barak fiki. They're praying for you, and they're just, MashaAllah, hearts and love and support, like just running like waterfall. So really amazing talk. I agree with all of them, MashaAllah. So I'll start with the first couple of questions, I guess, while we wait for more questions to come in if anyone is interested to add or to ask. Vinod asked, to what extent is empathy and hope related to COVID patients?
Sorry, could you please repeat this question?
To what extent are empathy and hope related to COVID patients?
Okay, so as I said in my talk, when my friend's father, as soon as he got COVID, at that time, I was just trying to empathize with her situation, and I was trying to give her hope that, everything will be okay. And, because that's what Islam teaches us as well. We have to have tawakkul in Allah, because Allah can make miracles happen no matter what the state of no matter what state the person is in. So it's so important, like for COVID patients, I mean, whether if you do have COVID or if you meet someone who is going through COVID, you just give them hope. You give them hope, and once you give them this hope, through this hope, you will be empathizing with them, because they will see that you are providing them with the right words that they want to hear. Because even with my friend, she was heartbroken. She didn't have any hope, and there were times when she wasn't in the right state of mind to even talk to me. But I tried my best, and that's what we all can do. We can all just play our part. But it's so important as well to not impose our advices. As I said, it's good to keep on reminding someone else that everything will be okay, but there's a certain limit to everything, and you should always give the other person their space, the space that they need.
Thank you for that. Simal Zaman, I'm assuming this person's related to you, is asking. It's your sister. But do you not feel it is hard to differentiate between the two, sympathy and empathy? Where is the line? That's a great question. Thank you, Simal.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, I mean, with my talk, I mean, you must have realized that I grew up in this environment of sympathy. So if someone is nice to me, I'm like, no, this person is not actually nice to me. They're sympathizing with me. Like, what? It's like, Alina, people can actually be nice to you. They can like you for who you are. So with sympathy is all about, like, when you see someone or something, you just feel sorry for them. And with empathy, you just try understanding or try relating to them or try feeling how they are, what the emotions that they're going through. And this is all there is to it. No one in this world, I mean, when I use like these pity or feeling sorry for someone, I mean, throw them out of your lexicon. No one needs these words. No one needs it. Just show empathy, no sympathy.
Jojo Lawler commented way back when, before all of these comments. I'm just trying to scroll through everything here. Said, yes, I can see how we can use empathy in ways to lift each other up, but to also praise and empower each other. And then we have a few more here. People are asking you to stay and talk more. Question from Hira. Tell us more and update us about Qatra.
Okay, so because of COVID, things had slowed down a bit, but now, inshallah, by next month, me and my team, we will be launching Qatra on Etsy. So our first round, we already have the products here. So inshallah, we will be launching it on Etsy, and you will be able to order them through Etsy. And inshallah, people who are in Qatar, you will be able to buy them. But people who live outside Qatar, you will be able to buy them in the second round, inshallah.
Inshallah. Okay, Zinira Sheikh is asking, sympathy often comes from a place of superiority and empathy. Is considering yourself an equal to them? Wait, let me repeat the question. Sympathy often comes from a place of superiority and empathy. Is considering yourself an equal to them? Do you understand the question? Okay.
I think is she and
can you rephrase that? I don't know.
I mean, yeah, Zinira, I agree with you. Because I mean, with my experiences, I've learned that when you see someone who's in a certain situation and you feel that you're superior with the way you want to give them advice, and you feel that you know better, but that's not it. But if you use the tool of empathy, then you will be able to understand how they're feeling, what they're going through. And yes, definitely you will feel equal to them because you would be on the same wavelength as them.
We're gonna I believe Dr. Basma had her hand raised, so Dr. Basma, would you still like to speak?
Hello, Assalamu alaikum, Lina, Assalamu alaikum, Bayan, Assalamu alaikum, Mariam. I just want to thank you, Bayan, for these two great talks. We learned a lot today from Mariam and Lina, and they come together exactly the same. They teach the same lesson about how empathy and sympathy and hope are important. And Lina, thank you so much for this, because everyone, I think, is exposed in somehow in his life or her life to be bullied somehow from people. So the most important thing, the lesson you taught us all together, is how to face this bullying and how to make it your story when you said that you talked to the school administration, how to solve the issue. I like that very, very much. And I second your description when you said that you are loved by everyone. Yes, you are. You deserve it. You did a lot of work, and we today really, I was so glad to hear all the talk about your story and Mariam's story. Thank you so much, Bayan. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Dr. Basma. Thank you for attending and supporting all the talks.
I really do appreciate your support, and I'm blessed to have a professor like you in my life. Alhamdulillah.
Okay, Zanira was just commenting on her comment, saying that it's a comment. Sorry about that. I thought it was a question. I was just adding to the discussion regarding Simal's question. And Tazian, good thing that you mentioned this, because he's following up on Zanira's comment, asking if sympathy is a derivative of privilege?
Yeah, that's very interesting. And in my opinion, and based on my experiences, I would feel yes, it is, because when I'm sympathizing with someone, I feel that I have this privilege over them. And even with the situation with the widows, I mean, I mean, I mean, a couple of years ago, if I had met someone, I would always just be like, I would feel sorry for them, or that, I would just sympathize with them because I would just feel sorry for them. And even whenever if I were to experience a situation and someone is going through something, and instead of empathizing, I would sympathize, because I would strongly feel that I do have this privilege over them, because I'm not in this situation that they are in, and I know what is better than them. So yeah, I guess I do agree that it is like this.
Okay, wow, we have so many questions and comments. We're gonna have to wrap it up soon. I'll take the last few. Let's see. Khadija is asking, oh, this is a request for both Mariam and Alina, if you can share your social media accounts. So go ahead and type them into the chat if you're still here, Mariam. I'm not sure. And Samiha is, okay, so we'll end it with Samiha, I guess. If I say that when we empathize, we will think twice in our actions, will that be right? Like, for example, when we're about to waste food, we think about the poor and underprivileged, and we don't do that. So is that empathizing? Does that make sense? So basically, like what empathizing means is thinking twice about our actions. So basically, if we're about to throw away food, before we do that, we think about the poor people, and then we decide not to. Is that what empathy is, or empathizing is?
Okay. So answering Samiha's question, I feel empathy facilitates tolerance and understanding. And with this, if you're about to waste food, and yes, empathy makes, switches on your conscious thinking. You're more conscious, you're more aware of what you're doing. And I feel that helps you become a true empath. So it's not about the food, it's about the people who are starving, who don't have the food, and who are in this situation. So yes, you would be empathizing here.
Thank you so much. Okay, one last question. Again, like you and Mariam, your topics are so interesting, and everybody wants to join in the conversation, which is great. Thank you all so much for being so active today. I want to see this activity every day, okay, guys? After you know the difference between empathy and sympathy, how can you prevent people from sympathizing with you?
That's a very good question. Okay, so I would not let other people sympathize with me if I don't sympathize with myself. As I said before, I would be playing the victim card, that, oh my God, yeah, I was bullied, or oh my God, this happened to me. So, I deserve empathy. It's not always like this. So usually, if someone were to sympathize with me, if they were to feel sorry that, if, for instance, I had a lot of dental surgeries, these past 2 years. So when people were sympathizing, I was like, no, I'm completely fine. It's all good. It's really nothing, I don't need it. That was like, oh, how are you coming to university? I was like, people go through worse. This is just, because in the beginning, at that time, I was whining like a baby. And because I gave other people the room to sympathize with me. If you don't give the other person the space to sympathize with you, then they wouldn't do it. But if they do, then you can always just, push them back and be like, I don't need it.
That's a great answer. Honestly, I never thought of it that way. I'm gonna start doing that. I am not a victim. I'm a happy person. So Thank you so much. Sabika said this is very thought-provoking. It also brings to mind that it may be easier to empathize with the individual in our sphere, but we may be at risk of losing empathy with people in difficult conditions outside our sphere. This is a great reminder for us to think about people more. Thank you, Sabika, for your comment.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, well, people keep sending you love. This is amazing. So look at that. Look at how you were in school and how you are now. And if little you were to look at, you know, all this love and support now, I'm sure little you would be so proud and so happy,
Yeah.
and you wouldn't even care for these bullies. Not that you should
Yeah.
have in the first place, but still.
Like, honestly speaking, I'm so grateful for my support system. Like, since day one, I mean, it's not about the number of friends but it's just about the right people, the quality of people in my life who have always been there for me. And I am what I am because of my support system. Thank you so much. I love you all.
Alhamdulillah, I'm so glad that you have this support system and you have all this love, and we hope to have you again to share more stories and inspire us even more. So thank you for teaching us about empathy, and yeah, I hope you all have a great day. Thank you for joining us. Siyaman maqboolan if you're fasting. If you're not, then just have a great rest of the day. And we'll see you all tomorrow, inshallah. Don't forget, tomorrow we also have another talk at 2 p.m. Is today Tuesday? Then tomorrow's Wednesday, which means tomorrow's talk is at 2. See you then. Same link. Okay, guys? See you then. Thank you so much for coming.